Oh, is it working? It says it's on air. Is it working? Please work. Are you live? Am I live? That says not live. This says video unavailable. Why? I did not remove it. It says I'm on air. This is frustrating. Why can't I get this to go live? Is it live? Elgato says I'm live. I can't find anything on YouTube saying that I am live. 10 a.m. Public. Why doesn't this work last time I did it? Let's just go stream now. Is it working? Okay, it looks like maybe it's working now. I think it's working. Okay. So if it's working, let me know if you can hear my voice or if things start going all wonky. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So this is not a Gaijin Caveman episode. This is just Legend of Zelda mixed with Japan. So we're just going to go around the world and point out some things that are similar to real life in Japan. So there are quite a few things, and I can even make things up if needed, meaning I can draw unintended likenesses between real Japan and the game. These things aren't necessarily intended by the makers, but we can draw them anyways. So it's unfortunate we're starting out in this desert, because Japan isn't really a deserty area, though there's lots of water. Oh, this is one thing that we can point out right off the bat. So though this place is a desert, which Japan doesn't really have much of, other than there are some sand dunes in the east by the coast, and so here there's lots of sand, right? So let's just get a look at the desert from a high point. So there aren't really, you can see in the distance there are sand dunes, and so there are some sand dunes in Japan, like one area that I know of, and it's pretty cool, and there's a coast right next to it. And then one thing I want to point out are these aqueduct looking things, where the water is flowing from the waterfalls up there, which the source of that water is probably some kind of spring. And so the water comes flowing through the city and gives water to everyone who needs it. So, a couple uses the Gerudo might have for this water is it can possibly range from washing their clothes to washing fruits to basically anything you can use water for. So the way this ties in to Japan, especially in the city I'm in, it rains a lot in Japan, and in the winter, in some places it can get quite a bit of snow, and so naturally there's a risk for flooding if that water has nowhere to go. So they have things kind of like these aqueducts, but instead of being above ground, they're more like this area, where they are underground. So here you can see there are walkways where you can go over the water without getting your feet wet. And unlike in the places in America where I go, you have gutters that are rather shallow for water to drain into the underground. These ones are covered with stones, and they're pretty deep, which means if they're not covered with stones in Japan, if you're driving, it can be a little scary, because if you get stuck in one of those, it'll be ridiculously hard to get out. But most of the time they have stones covering it, and you can lift up the stones if you want to use the water in the gutters. So we can draw one similarity between the Gerudo in the desert and Japan. So other than that, there's not many similarities between these two areas. There are, I think maybe these are palm trees. I'm not a master of trees, but Japan also has quite a few palm trees, so that's a thing. So since we're in the desert and there's not really much else we can kind of tie here, let's travel somewhere else. And let's go to the opposite end of the world. And there's some cool things that I learned down in Kagoshima about this next area. So if you've played this game, you might recognize that we are going to Death Mountain, the large volcano in the Zelda world. And so Japan is full of volcanoes. Most of them seem to be dormant at the moment. Even Mount Fuji was once a volcano. So last summer, I went up and climbed Mount Fuji, and like here, you need special clothing, or else here you will burn up. If you're at the top of Mount Fuji, you're just going to freeze to death. So let's get some clothing, because we always come prepared. And let's change to weapons that won't burn. Perfect. Now we won't be caught on fire. So here is the volcano. It's covered in lava, as you can see. The lava is something you won't see much in Japan, mostly because anywhere with lava is probably really dangerous, and so they will prevent you from going anywhere if there is lava. So we'll just have to go into some historical stuff that I read while I was in Kagoshima. So in Kagoshima there is a volcano. I think it's called Sakurajima, which is like Rose Blossom Mountain. And it's still, I think, maybe semi-active, as you can still see smoke erupting from it from time to time. Almost on a daily basis, I think. So there isn't any lava spewing about, there's not any like explosions, but you can see smoke that comes out of the top of the mountain in Kagoshima. Also, in the area around Kagoshima, there is a story about a volcano that when it erupted, well, there was a mountain, and then next to that mountain, I think a volcano next to the volcano, there was another volcano that when it erupted, it did so such that the other volcano sunk into the ground and ended up becoming a lake. So let's just fly over here. So you can see Death Mountain right here, this huge volcano that is now active and erupting. And then right next to this, you can see like this giant crater area, like where it looks like the ground just kind of sunk in below. So you also have an area over there where it's kind of sunk down. So sometimes, I guess, when volcanoes erupt, it has the potential that another mountain collapses, which I didn't know before, but that's kind of cool. Okay, so before we run out of energy, let's just drop down and then prevent ourselves from dying. And here we have a nice autumn color. So let's explore this in style on the nice master bike. So, as you can see, there are many different autumn colors around here. If you live near the equator or super far north maybe, you will not see these colors very often if it's eternal winter or eternal summer. But Japan likes to boast about having many seasons, having all 4 seasons. So spring, fall, winter, summer, and all of that. We just scared a Gerudo. So, you can expect to see many different colors when you're in Japan. Now, there are other places in this game where there are also, sakura trees, or trees that look like they're growing rose cherry blossoms. So, I can't remember exactly where that is. I think maybe in one of the ninja towns, which we will be exploring shortly. But yeah, that's more of the spring Japan. So real quick, we're going to take a stop and talk to this guy named Teddy. So, a connection I wanted to make here is this guy is always walking around. He is always selling goods. It's a very convenient place if you're on the road away from the city to stop by, buy some things you need, like arrows, food, and whatnot. In Japan, you don't really have wandering salespeople like this, but you have some convenient places to buy things that aren't grocery stores. So they have, I forget the English word. They have vending machines all over the place. Like, I don't know how it is in other places, but in my hometown, it was generally inside buildings. You could buy some chips, some gum, maybe some drinks and stuff. But in Japan, they have a wide variety of vending machines where you can even buy hamburgers and hot meals, though those hot meals' quality is kind of low. You can buy coffee that's hot. You can buy, like, tea, alcohol, cigarettes, sometimes even umbrellas, and then the natural drinks and ice cream machines as well. So, this guy is like a vending machine. So let's just pick up some arrows, because we like shooting things. But this guy might even more closely resemble what they call konbini, or convenience stores. So, convenience stores are a little bit different here than they are in America. Sometimes in America, they kind of have this image of being run down. You go there for gas and then maybe some slushies or something. And some of them have some like unique treats that people go specifically for these treats. In Japan, konbini are like the go-to. You can do almost anything there. You order some tickets online, you go to the konbini to pay for it. You can order tickets at the konbini. You can buy all sorts of snacks. And it's kind of a convenient, one-stop-fits-all kind of stop. So that's kind of cool. Okay. Let's see. Over here, we have some more fall stuff happening. We have some ruins right here. Oh, there's one really cool area Let's see. Oh, we're about to go off a cliff. So I think it's up there. Let's just teleport up to this tower. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this area is where the ancient ruins of some castle exist. So going through the chat, I know that in order to have pretty good quality of video, the delay is kind of long. So if I cut the video quality down all the way, it could be almost instantaneous, no delay, without it and stuff. Oop, it's cold. But since I wanted to have high quality video also for people who want to watch later or anything like that, there is going to be a little bit of a delay. Also, my Wi-Fi likes to cut out sometimes, so it may not specifically be anyone's issues, but thought I would just throw that out there. But while we were loading. But now we finished loading, so let's take a look at what I think are the castle ruins. Okay, I think I was correct. So you see these ruins where it used to be some kind of defensive structure, it looks like, but now it is covered in goop and is just nothing there really. So you come down here, you see some more ruins, and I think somewhere on this, in this area, there are some cannons that I want to point out. Let's just get attacked by this guy real quick. Perfect. Okay. So maybe it's not this area after all. Anyways, as you can see, there are some ruins up here of an old fortress. So you can see all over Japan. Japan is a very old country that has had its fair share of conflicts. So as a result, there are many old structures, like Japanese castles and other such things, that you can kind of explore, and it's really cool. There are a few, like, very, very old castles that are still the originals, like in Inuyama, and I think, was it Matsumoto? Those castles, they're the originals, and you can usually tell if they're original, one, because they're advertised that way, two, because the stairs are ridiculously steep, and so it's really hard to climb the stairs sometimes. But most of the castles in Japan have been reconstructed. So, for instance, in my town, the Hachiman Castle has been reconstructed because it was destroyed long ago. The Nagoya Castle also was reconstructed because it was destroyed in the fire bombings during World War II. So lots of castles were destroyed, built back up, and lots of them have been turned into basically museums that look like castles, is how I would describe it. And the Osaka and Nagoya castles are very much museum. They have a museum kind of feel to them, but on the outside they look like a new castle. Okay, so let's see, is there one around here? It doesn't look like there is. We're going to take a rest stop next to one of the places that I want to be going next. So, okay, we will take a stop over here. So in Breath of the Wild, there's lots of open space. They have plains, they have mountains, they have all sorts of landmarks. In Japan, especially in my area, there is a ton of mountains. So I live in Gifu Prefecture, and you can't get anywhere without going through a dozen tunnels or so. Even in my town, in order to get to the other side of the town with any degree of speed, you have to go through 1 or 2 tunnels. So there's tons of mountains, and unlike these mountains, these ones probably are closer to what we have in Utah, Idaho area, the Rocky Mountains, where there's not very many trees growing on there. In Japan, they're just full of trees. And you can't see the mountain itself because it's just thick trees going on forever. So, bringing us to here we have the vending machine Konbini Man. And then this is a rest stop where you can pick up your horses, you can drop your horses off, you can do basically anything you want. It's kind of a rest stop where you can drop your vehicles. You can also spend the night over here. You can talk to other people, you can buy things from a vendor over here. So all sorts of things you can do. So in Japan, as you're driving across country through all the mountains and tunnels, the highways have lots of rest stops that are very much like this. They generally have vending machines, they have restaurants, some of them have places you can stay, and you can just kind of take a rest from driving. Now we have these in America as well. I know in the area I used to live in America, they were often basically just restrooms and whatnot. And in order to get a place to sleep, a place to eat, and all of that, you had to stop in an actual city. But in Japan, they have stops like this all over the place. And they're pretty high quality most of the time as well. Granted, in the West, in the western area of America, there's a lot more nothing, so it makes sense that there would be just restrooms instead of like whole establishments. Okay. The next stop, we will explore some ninjas. So let's see if we can point anything out on the way as we go. So we got some signs telling us where to go. Here we have a bridge. Oh, this is one thing. But in order to tell you, we'll have to kill an enemy. Okay, so here we have a river. So one thing that my area... Oh. Speak of the devil, we have a ninja. So this guy is part of the Yiga clan. And so he has now fallen into the ocean, but he's apparently not dead yet. So we'll just defeat him. So that was a ninja from the Yiga clan. So the ninja town we're about to go visit is not the Yiga clan, but it's the, oh, what's their name? The Shika. So, before we go into that, that'll serve as a good transition into the ninja town. But here we have a river. As you can see, it's very clean. And the city that I live in has the Nagara-gawa, or the Nagara River, which is so clean that a certain kind of fish called the ayu will swim up and down the river. And so the ayu is a specialty is in this area, and lots of people go fishing it, and they use a technique called tomodzuri, which I made a video on that a couple months ago, I believe, or maybe even we're approaching a year ago now. But in that video, I kind of explained how it works, and basically you take you catch a fish, you hook it onto the hook, and then you use that to catch other fish. Now, the fish you attach to the hook has all sorts of hooks attached to it, so that when another ayu will come attack it... Oh, we seem to be out of gas. So when the other IU will attack it, it will get hooked onto the fish that you have, and now you'll have 2 fish. Now the reason they do that is IU are very territorial, and so if they see another IU in their area, they will attack. And it sounds like we've got another Yiga clan. Oh, we lost him. So, I think we are just about... Here we are. Here we have a nice gate welcoming us to the Sheikah. And so, as you can see, there are little banners hanging down from there. And so, here's one thing that's kind of cool. You have these wooden planks tied to strings, and those kind of make noise in the wind. And they're similar to what you see in a lot of Japanese shrines. They're probably different in usage, but in shrines all over the place you'll see papers that are kind of in this shape that are of significant Shinto. They have some significance to the Shinto religion of like purification and whatnot. So let's continue into this town. So here's something that's kind of cool. You see these houses, and I want you to make particular, or pay particular attention to these roofs. So, it's hard to, let's get a close look. So these roofs look like they're made out of old hay, not hay, rice stalks, I believe. So you can see the individual stalks kind of coming out there. And so there's an area of Japan called Shirakawa-go, which is a World Heritage Site. And in this town, you have roofs that look very similar to this. They don't quite have this overhang like these ones do, and they haven't generally had a big wooden decoration on top, but they have a very particular shape, and they are recognized as a World Heritage. So here we have some more of those roofs, and there are other areas of Japan that have these same kinds of roofs, but I don't know if they're particularly like World Heritage Sites. Shirakawa-go is definitely famous for that. Okay, so I was hoping to get some other kind of roof styles, but it looks like these guys all went with Shirakawa-go style housing. Anyways, if we look at these barriers, handrails, that's what they're called. These look very similar to what I've seen in a lot of areas in Japan around their, I don't know if they're maybe temples and stuff. As you can see, the shape of this thing on top of the handrail, it's kind of got a point at top and it's an orb on the bottom. And there was a place in Nara that had the palace where the capital used to be, and they had railings that looked very much like this, only they were a little bit more colorful. And here you can see at the end of the railing, they kind of stick out a little bit, and that's the same as what they did in Nara as well. So, since we're in this ninja town, it makes sense to talk about the 2 ninja clans of ancient Japan. So, these guys are the Sheikah, and their enemies are the Iga clan, or Yuga, I can't remember. Maybe I'm getting the historical ones and Zelda ones mixed up. But in ancient Japan, I believe it was Yiga and... Oh, what was it? There's one of them that... I think it starts with an F. One of their names has to do with... is like the same of if you remember Pokemon Red Blue version, if you played those, the gym leader in Fuchsia City, Koga, the Koga Ninja, that's what it is. So there were the Koga and I believe the Iga clans. And so at some point, the emperor or the people in charge of Japan wanted ninjas gone because they were doing a lot of damage to the samurai and causing lots of strife. So, in order to exterminate the Koga clan, I believe it was the Koga clan, they took help from the Yiga clan, or the Iga clan, and had them help in attacking the Koga. Or it may have been vice versa. I can't remember precisely. But one way or the other, the Japanese imperial government or people in power brought about basically the extermination of an entire clan of ninjas with help from the other ninja clan. Alright, so I think that was quite a bit for this live stream. We are approaching the normal limit, I believe, of live streams. I tend to try to keep them to about 30 minutes. I know this one started a little bit late, and so I'm not sure if we're at 30 or 25 or however many. But I think I will end with one last thing. And this isn't really a traditional Japanese thing, but more of something in pop culture. And so let's see if I can find a good place to do this. This is best done at the top of a high mountain. So we're just going to come up here. And this illustrates kind of what I feel when I have been reading some recent manga that have come out in Japan. So if you've heard of the Attack on Titan series, they had a very popular TV show that came out season 1, and they finished season 2, I think, last year maybe. But it was very popular in Japan. It's based on a manga, which is on chapter, I think, 104 now. So this won't be any spoilers to the manga in case anyone wants to read it, but I'm illustrating kind of what I felt when reading that after I destroy Sir Beauregard and his friends. Get out of here. Thank you. Okay. So, we're in this high place, and let's spawn this bike. So, as you can see, this bike can be spawned anywhere I want. Well, almost anywhere. I can't spawn it in the desert. But you can't go climbing around when you're on the bike naturally, because that would be really hard. So, one of the things I found I liked doing in this game is I get on the bike, and then when I'm on high places like this, I just go flying off, do a jump off the bike, and fly to the next mountain, like so. And then when I'm on the next mountain, I can respawn the bike, not on Mr. Korok guy, and then do the same thing, jump off, do some stuff like that, jump off. Can we do a flip? Nope, we can't do any flips. But we can do that, and then if it looks like we're in trouble, we just jump off, go falling a little bit, land somewhere else, spawn the bike again, and just keep going. We just keep moving forward, as it were. So, I enjoy doing that, and it kind of gives me the same feeling as when I was reading the last 4 chapters of Attack on Titan. And the kind of feeling I get is just like a feeling of complete unstoppability, if that's even a word. But you can you ride your bike super fast as far as you want, and then you go off a cliff, jump off, abandon the bike. Wow, it kind of stalled there for a second. But you jump off the bike, it goes falling, you land somewhere else, spawn the bike again, and just keep going like nothing happened. So it feels really cool and powerful. So, anyways, I thought I would... To put it in another way, it's like in the Mario games when you're on Yoshi. You jump off a cliff, and you're not going to make the jump, so you jump off of Yoshi, Yoshi falls to his death, and then you continue on your way. It's kind of like that, except you don't feel like a monster, and Yoshi... It's like Yoshi can fly or just appear wherever he wants afterwards or something, or you can spawn Yoshi wherever. So, it's really, really cool. At least for me. So, anyways, that was naturally not traditional Japan kind of thing, but more of pop culture. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little bit about Japanese culture or Japan in general. And if you want me to do this with other games, or if you would like me to continue this with Breath of the Wild, since this is such a vast game, there's probably many things we can do here. Just let me know in comments or messages or any other way, and I'll do what I can. So, thank you for all those who joined in the live stream. Sorry it's a little shoddy at times. I can't always trust my internet, but hopefully that can rectify eventually. So, thank you for joining me. Please, if you want to see more of my content, like and subscribe, do all of that normal YouTube things, and come check out my channel for more videos, and I'll see you later.